Welcome into the lounge presented by DraftKings. We are thrilled to sit down with safety Kyle Hamilton. And Kyle, we're obviously going to sing your praises a lot in this podcast. So I'm going to start here, okay? The interception on top of the head. I know that your family can be a little ruthless with the text messaging and whatnot. After you didn't come down with the interception against the Texans, what kind of texts were you getting after the game?
A lot of friends and family saying that I'm not good or I can't catch and got my hands from Foot Locker, stuff like that. But yeah, it was kind of wild. I mean, shout out to Trav for tipping the ball, and it kind of got tipped my way. And you know, some things don't work out how they always do. But I was looking for the ball. I'm like, where is it? And I saw it on film. It was on my helmet for like 2 seconds. It was kind of wild. But I mean, it sucks because they got 3 points out of that drive, and that was the only 3 points I scored on the defense the whole game. So, you know, we live and we learn. We won. So.
Yeah. You know, it all turned out all right. I mean, that play, though, that's a tough play to defend. It seemed like you guys had that one, like, sniffed out in the jump.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it was it's all about eye discipline at the end of the day. And a younger self might have ran out to the screen pass and tried to tackle the screen. But, you know, we were man-to-man, so I have no assignment other than being on my man and, you know, be in the right place and the ball come to you. Sometimes just got to catch the ones they throw to you.
You could have David Tyree it.
I know, right? The bubble gum on the helmet kind of thing. Just stuck it right there, but nah.
It's interesting to hear you say a younger self. You're in your second year here, so it's not like you're this 10-year vet, you know, but you're. It seems like you've obviously come a long way in the year and a half, 2 years that you've been here. Do you, like, how much of a command of everything that's happening in front of you do you feel like you have? It just seems like you kind of know what's coming. Like, how much of a command of it all do you have? Yeah,
I feel like I have a good grasp of everything right now. And like you said, as a younger player in this defense, it's kind of a fine line between, you know, asserting yourself and kind of playing your role at the same time. You know, I'm not the huge vocal leader in this and that. I may be further down the line, but right now I feel like my role is to help guys get in the right spots and help everybody get aligned and then do my job at the end of the day.
As we go into this game, AFC Championship game, I go back to when the Ravens drafted you and I look at it and I think at that point when you fall to 14, which I think surprised a lot of people, probably even in this building, that you were available for the Ravens to even take, that basically this is the ideal scenario for how these 2 years have gone. Like, you have basically turned into exactly the player that I think the Ravens hoped you would become. And now you're in this AFC Championship game where you're going up against the Chiefs and Travis Kelce. And I'm sure when they drafted you, there's probably a feeling of, okay, you could end up, you know, this guy could help take away a Travis Kelce in a big playoff game. Is this basically, has your career gone the way up to this point that is like, this is exactly what you expected and what you hoped how this would unfold?
Yes and no. I would say, you know, had a little bumps in the road at the beginning, and, you know, everybody has those, but as a first rounder and all this and all that hearsay stuff, it's a little more magnified. And, you know, I feel like I've done a good job, and just credit to my parents the way they raised me, just deflecting all that and staying in my head and knowing that I'm my biggest critic at the end of the day. So to answer your question, I feel like it has for the most part, but I feel like I still have a bunch of stuff to do and a bunch of stuff that I can improve on. And you guys may see a game and feel like I played exceptional game, and I'll watch the film and nitpick little stuff, and I feel like that's how I make myself get better.
All-Pro, Pro Bowler in your second year. Did you think you were going to be this good this soon?
Yeah, I feel like I have that confidence in myself, and not saying that those accolades are end-all be-all, but I mean, it's pretty cool to be mentioned in that group. And, you know, I always have that under my belt, something I can say, but hopefully it's not the last, and hopefully we finish this out with a Super Bowl, and that'll be the icing on the cake. One
thing that has really stood out to me when coaches and teammates talk about you, they talk about, you know, how you'll rip somebody's face off on the field and all that stuff. And like, I want to know where that comes from, because probably as viewers can tell, you're a pretty laid back, like chill dude off the football field. So how do you flip that switch, and where does that come from?
Well, it definitely doesn't come from my dad's side. I'll say that. You know, it's a
Did
family
you just call your dad soft?
No, not necessarily, but it's a family full of hoopers, full of basketball players, and I'm really the only guy who plays football for the most part. And you know, it's been the same thing ever since I was younger. And I think I'll attribute it to my mom. You know, she's a feisty Korean woman, and she's always been tough on us and everything that we do. And ever since we started playing football, me and my brother, she would always say that if you're not bleeding or something's broken, I'm not coming out into the field, like being one of those moms in Little League that comes out and checks on their kids. So, it was she was always tough on us growing up. I think it gave us thick skin, and I feel like you kind of have to flip somewhat of a switch in football to be out there and do your job the way that it needs to be done. And that's the approach I take to everything, and saying that I'm going to get up next play and still be able to go out there and play.
I'm imagining real quick. Have you ever seen those videos where like the high school kids, like they let the moms come and like just wreck shop?
Yeah.
They just let them blow up their kid. I'm kind of imagining that now with you and your mom.
No, I would deck my mom. I would deck my mom. If she came out there and tried to do that, I wasn't going for that.
It's funny. I remember when you did Marlon's podcast, Studio 44. That was the first time that I heard you say that what you just said, which is basically give it all physical. I got.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like I apply that to a lot of things, even in going back to Notre Dame, like conditioning. College conditioning can be tough sometimes. And, you always sit in the locker room after and you're hurt and you're a little tired, but a few hours later you feel fine and then back at it the next day. And I feel like I take that approach in the games too. You're banged up after the game, you're sore, but then you get home, watch the film, chill, whatever. Monday comes around, you're still a little sore. Tuesday, feeling better. Wednesday, then you get to Thursday and you're feeling really, really good, ready to go. So kind of tell myself going in every game, it's going to be physical and I want to be the hammer, not the nail, and come out on the other side victorious. But, you're going to be sore and that's just part of the game.
Do you talk trash on the field?
Are you kidding me? Haven't you not seen it?
Yes and no. I feel like if I'm only talked to. If I'm talked to, then I'll say something, but I don't really usually start it.
Do you really relish kind of like getting in the opponent's head that way, like making sure they know you're coming 100 miles per hour, you're going to hit them? Like, what does that do for you, and do you think does for them?
I think it's a combination of all that. It makes me more confident. I feel like at the end of the day, I want to make my teammates kind of feel that energy, and just saw Kyle make a big hit or a big play, and then somebody on our side of the ball says, okay, it's my turn.
Right.
And it's just kind of infectious like that. We have that energy out there on defense, and Roquan brings it from the start, and then everybody kind of follows that. And once all 11 guys are out there running around like that, it's hard to score against.
It does feel like this defense has a different energy, whether it be physicality, even like leading up to the game, like when you're talking about the opponent and about the quarterback, it seems like nobody wants to pay them any compliments. Like it's like respect, but it's like the words taste disgusting when you're saying them. Like there's just a different edge. Even from last year, and there's a lot of the same players. Why do you agree with that, and why, if so?
Yeah, I feel like, that's true what you said. There's always respect there. We all know what everybody in this league does on a daily basis, what it takes to play at a high level at this level, and there's a sense of respect there. But at the same time, you got to feel that you're the better person out there. And if you don't believe that, and I'm sure the offenses we go against, teams we go against believe the same thing, but if you don't believe that, you're not setting yourself up for success when you go out there. But in terms of the difference in this year, I mean, winning solves a lot of problems. So, it's easier to talk when you're winning. And I feel like we've earned the right to do that. Some guys go about it a different way. Guys like Roquan is just nonstop talking. But, he has the right to do that. He's proved himself as one of the better players in this league, and you can't really say anything to him because he goes out there and does it every Sunday.
Yeah. Right? Do you think that the way I see it, like the way that he talks like that and then backs it up, there's always a fear of bulletin board material or providing motivation or any of that stuff, but he like does not care. Like he relishes it. And then to me, like I've seen that kind of trickle throughout everybody else, whether it's press conferences or just the way that you guys carry yourselves. How does he set that tone? And I guess, why don't you care if you guys are providing bulletin board material or carrying yourself a way that others could view as a little too confident?
Yeah, I mean, that's his thing. That's what gets him going, and it's what gets a lot of the guys on the team going. I mean, at the end of the day, you still got to play the game, and you can talk all you want, and that goes for us as well. We can talk all we want or say whatever we want. Still got to go out there and play and execute and beat the team that comes into whatever game we're playing. But that's how Roquan does it. Me personally, I try to just keep everything to myself, not just leave everything for the game. Everybody says talk with your pads, and I try to just do that. And that goes back to me not really talking trash on the field unless I'm talked to, and then I got to stand my ground. And then I'll have some bullets in the gun just in case I got to talk trash to somebody. But I try to just talk with my pads and leave everything out there and not really try to distract myself.
Well, this is AFC Championship week, and the Kansas City Chiefs are coming to town. And I mentioned Travis Kelce earlier, and I know it's not just you against him, but I feel like you'll be matched up against him plenty of times on Sunday. What are your thoughts about going up against him and what this matchup means for you?
Yeah, I'm excited. I was talking to my family, and they're just like, it's kind of wild to see all the people you've covered, all the people you've gone against, played against, quarterbacks, all that stuff. And, you know, because I was in high school, I graduated in 19, so feels like I was just in high school, and now I'm playing at the highest level, and it's kind of wild. I got to take a step back and appreciate where I'm at. But going back to Kelce, I mean, I said it yesterday, but he's earned every ounce of respect that he's gotten in this league, and it's a privilege and a awesome opportunity to go up against a guy like that in a game like this. And, you know, it's a high stakes game. I feel like everybody got to bring their A game. So we're going to get the best shot they have. They're going to get the best shot we have.
So the mission has to be that we don't see any Travis Kelce hearts up to the luxury box. Is that the goal for this weekend?
Yes and no. I mean, if we're doing our job, that probably won't happen. But I mean, we can't get too caught up in stuff like that.
Right. And Pat Mahomes, obviously, a lot of the talk surrounds him this week. You know, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the game for a long time. Was he somebody before you got to the NFL that you would watch on TV and just be like, man, this guy is like ridiculous, you know, and going against him for the first time, just what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, just like you say, you know, he's been somewhat dominant in this league for a long time. And props to him, props to everybody in that organization for getting them where they're at right now. But I feel like we're the next man up, you know, and that's the mentality that we have going into this game. And like you said, growing up, watching all these guys, all those reactions, like you said, I'm sure everybody around the world who's watched them play has those same reactions. But, you know, it's our job to stop them at the end of the day. Can't be thinking about all this stuff. You know, they're going to make good plays, and we just got to reset, refocus, and keep them from out the end zone. Do
you think that the defense and the Ravens as a whole kind of come into this feeling almost like the underdog, right? Like we were the best team in the NFL in the regular season, had the best record, smacking everybody up, even good, really good teams. But you go into against a team that's been in 6 straight AFC championships. Do you feel like it's a little bit? Do you take the underdog role going into that game, or what?
Yeah, I would say there's somewhat of a chip on our shoulder, you know, and you know we haven't necessarily won in the playoffs in a good while. I mean, I've only been here 2 years, but. And they've won multiple Super Bowls, all that stuff. So, I mean, I understand the narrative around the game, but at the same time, there's been plenty of times where teams like that lose going to a game like this. And, you know, I feel like at the end of the day, like I said, we got to play the game, and all the talk around it is going to be the talk. It's part of it. And it's one of 2 games on the weekend, the final 4 teams, and there's a bunch of hype around it, but we still got to go there and focus no matter the environment, who we're playing, you know, just prepare and play the right way.
When you are going up against these teams, does that serve as motivation? The point that Ryan just made, it's like, okay, the Chiefs are the defending champs and all that stuff. And you get asked about that. Like, does that motivate you? Do you not care? How do you view like the narrative piece going into a game like this?
I feel like I don't really care, me personally. I feel like I have the same approach to every single week, no matter who we're playing. If it's week 1, 4, week, whatever it is now, 20 something. But I feel like that's kind of what I need to do personally to keep myself just level headed, you know, go out there and not really think about much, just do. And I feel like once I'm out there thinking, then I kind of play a little slower, go into a game, just tell myself I know I can do what I need to do, and just a matter of me going out there and doing it.
When did you feel like, I mean, it happened last year, then this year you just been playing excellent all season long, but like at what point as a rookie did you feel like, all right, I get it? Like, I know some early season struggles, but then like at the end of the season, you were playing at such a high level. Like, when did it click?
Yeah, I feel like once you make your first big play, maybe after the Patriots game, you know, I got a punch out, and it's just one of those moments where you just got to, like I said, just go out there and play. You know, it's the same game that I was playing when I was 5 years old, and it's just running and hitting at the end of the day in the simplest form. I try to keep it as simple as possible. If I'm not in the right spot on a play, I can make up for it, just run into the ball. You know, you might get a punch out like that. You never know. And I feel like at that moment, I know I can play at this level. I can make plays. I can be effective consistently. And I feel like I'm smart enough to just be in the right spots and put myself in good position.
Did you envision this kind of role for yourself in the NFL? The kind of the Swiss Army knife to do everything? Or did you figure, I'm going to be kind of a deeper safety? You know, like nobody really does it the way you do it. You're kind of one-on-one when it comes to safeties. Is this what you envisioned?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I feel like ever since college, I feel like I could do things that other people couldn't do. And I feel like I credit that to my basketball playing growing up because I'm a bigger guy. I haven't always been this big though. And, just footwork wise and just mentality wise, I feel like I've allowed myself to grow into what I am now. And it's taken a process, things don't happen overnight, but I feel like ever since college, I was effective in a lot of different spots. And depending on who I went to, what team drafted me, if I did need to just play deep safety, then I would have done that to the best of my abilities. But, Baltimore, the Ravens deploy me in certain different areas, and I feel like it allows me to go out there and make a lot of plays.
You talk about, being able to make up for stuff by just running and hustling and all that stuff and your smarts. One play that really stood out that way was in San Francisco when you got buried in the turf by the offensive lineman. It was a penalty. Well, first you got chop blocked, buried, and then got up and made the interception. Can you take us through that play? What was kind of going through your mind on that one?
Yeah, I was at nickel and timed up a blitz. I knew that McCaffrey liked to cut, so I kind of try to sidestep him. And my boy Aaron Banks, who plays guard for the Niners, we played at Notre Dame together for 2 years.
Okay.
So it was kind of messed up that he did that. But, so I guess Banks, I felt all 330 pounds of him land on top of me. And you can kind of see like my head has like a piece of grass in it, like in my helmet. And I just like get up and I realized Purdy's still running. And I knew that we had the flag already. So I'm like, all right, who knows how this play is going to end. But, life's short, run to the ball. And Marlon made a great play, tipped the ball, and I was in the right spot.
That's pretty awesome.
That's cool. When you found out that you were going to the Pro Bowl this year, well, hopefully you're not going to the Pro Bowl, but you made the Pro Bowl. And Eric told you, one of the things you said in the video that we put out was like, my dad's going to freak out. And, I've had the chance to meet your dad back at the draft and your family, and I've seen just how much, your success means to them. What was it like when you called him and told him that you were a Pro Bowler?
Yeah, I'm kind of weird about stuff like that. I feel like I just let my family find out on their own.
You didn't even tell them?
Yeah, I didn't. Even like
you can find out on Twitter,
all that stuff. Sometimes people even call and tell me like stuff that's happened. Like I used to do that with offers in high school. I would just like tweet it out, and my family would be like, "Oh, Notre Dame offered you?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, they did." I forgot to tell them. But yeah, I mean, it's something that's cool to me, but it's I'm sure it's even better for them. They've raised me, my mom, my dad, and everybody around me, brother. They've helped me get to this point. I wouldn't be here without them. And their reaction is just kind of like they're living vicariously through me. They're just jumping up, and it's still kind of surreal for them because we grew up loving football, watching football, and for me now to be on this level and succeeding, which is a blessing that I don't take for granted. I think it like almost brings them to tears kind of thing. So I'm really just glad to say that I've succeeded in this area up until now for them. They've helped me get here to this point, and I appreciate it more so for them.
You talk about your Korean mom, and I know you're very proud of your Korean heritage. What are the best parts and the worst parts of having a Korean mom?
I'll start with the best parts. Best parts is she's going to make you grow up early. You become more mature, do a lot of things on your own, make yourself independent. The food. Great food.
Yeah.
Great food.
Love it.
I think just being diverse is kind of a cool thing. You identify with a lot of different people, can be in a lot of different circles. She's going to be hard on us in school, which is a good and bad thing. I'll transition to bad after that. But, we're going to have good grades and we're going to be disciplined in that area.
Yeah.
Onto the bad stuff, punishments may be a little harsh. I remember she took my phone away one time for like 3 months, like 4 months. Yeah.
What'd you do to deserve that? You probably deserved it.
Yeah, I did. I did deserve it. But
that's another story for another day.
Some people lose it for a weekend or a week.
3 months.
For like 3-4 months. But I was phoneless for then. Like I said, she's gonna be hard on us. So there's no talking back, none of that. Very strict. You can't play video games or anything before you do your homework. In the summers, we would have to do like these workbooks. So we would be doing math while everybody's at the pool or something. And but I mean, we're better for that at the end of the day. My brother went to Ivy League school, played basketball there, and I went to Notre Dame, which is a decision that I made because of my mom and because of the way that I just grew up, wanting to go to a good academic school. And credit to her, honestly, for us being in the position that we're in. Right. My brother and I, and we're successful, and she had a huge part in that.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned math. So I heard you do this in the locker room, and I'm curious to hear it again. How many digits of pi can you recite?
I don't know the exact number, but it fluctuates. You know, when I'm bored, I'll just look at it and then memorize like 10 more. But do you want to?
Yeah,
we got to see it. We got to see it.
Okay. 3.1415926535 89793238 4626 4338 3279 502-88419, and I think it's 379 or something like that. But no more.
We'll have to check your work after this.
I feel like that's right.
Okay. Impressive. Thank you, Kyle. And hey, almost as impressive as what you're doing on the football field. Almost.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, man.
man.
Appreciate it. Welcome back into the Lounge Podcast. We're coming to you from the SeatGeek studio. We want to give a shout out to our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. And they are an official sports betting partner of the Baltimore Ravens. They've got a limited time offer running right now that you don't want to miss. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use the promo code FLOCK. If you're a new user, you can get a deposit bonus up to $1,000. Again, the promo code is FLOCK only at DraftKings. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. You need to be at least 21 or older to play and physically present in Maryland.
BGE is all about small businesses being the backbone of Maryland's economy. In partnership with the Baltimore Ravens, BGE is investing in communities across Central Maryland, helping small businesses continue to thrive. Be sure to visit www.bgenow.com to learn more. So, Kyle was great.
Yes. Great guest, great player.
How many digits of pi can you recite?
I got 3.14.
That's where I am. I'm right there with you.
You know, it's funny, after we wrapped up, we pulled up
Kyle
fact checked it.
Kyle pulled it up.
He wanted to make sure that he got it right.
He immediately hit one button on his phone and it's got all the digits of pi. You didn't have to Google it.
Yeah. It's a screensaver. It's his background.
Seriously.
So he studies that.
We checked the work. It was spot on.
It was accurate. He also said he's going to work on it in the offseason, to make sure that he can get even more numbers.
Yeah.
So
we'll do. He said he's going to get 100 more this offseason or something.
We'll do part 2 after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So, yeah, Kyle's awesome. I mean, just a great dude, great player. It's been remarkable to watch his development in such a short time, become a special player in this league. And he really is, we have a unicorn on the offensive side of the ball with Lamar. He is a unicorn defensively, and he's going to be a really good player here for a really long time.
I really believe it. I think that, when John Harbaugh and Eric DeCosta are having conversations prior to the draft or on draft night, how would Kyle Hamilton fit? What could he become? What's best case, worst case?
Yep.
The way this is played out really is best case. I mean, this guy is an absolute difference maker for your defense. He's a matchup nightmare. You move him all over the field. He's an intimidating player. He's a great locker room fit. Mm-hmm. And now you're in this AFC Championship where a player, I'm not saying the Ravens drafted him to cover Travis Kelce, but when you have that conversation, I just feel like this game is a culmination of Kyle Hamilton's rise over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And this is a matchup that is going to be a real test for him. I like his ability in this. I think he's going to fare really well. That's my expectation. But it's going to be a tremendous test for him. Similar to the narratives that exist for a Mahomes and Lamar, you could say the same thing about Kyle and Kelce. Mm-hmm. Kyle, up-and-coming player, all-pro player. Well, Travis Kelce has been a multi-time all-pro and is a future Hall of Famer. Yep. So what do you got?
Right.
I think that's going to be...
It's a measuring stick game in some ways for Kyle Hamilton.
Totally. And I'm just excited to see it because I think that...
He's going to measure up.
Yeah, I do.
6 foot, whatever, 4 of them is going to measure up.
Yeah, he's a great player, and I think that I think honestly we probably, just going back to the draft, probably even undersold the difference he would make on this defense.
Yeah, well, even going back to the draft, it's not just Kyle. Tyler Linderbaum in the first round too. That pick's worked out pretty darn well.
Yeah,
those two players. There was some criticism of the Ravens coming out of that draft about, well, you spend 2 first-round picks on non-premier positions. Safety, a safety that people didn't really know exactly where he's going to fit. And had questions about is he too big to play your traditional safety? Where's he go exactly? And then a center, right, who people were saying was too small. And so, it's really worked out in spades for the Ravens.
I mean, honestly, when you look at that draft and you take an even wider view of it, it is pretty remarkable the way that draft class has kind of remade this team. And honestly, on draft night, it was kind of a weird feeling that year because that was also when they traded Hollywood Brown to Arizona, and Lamar was tweeting about it, didn't seem too happy about it. And so at that time, you're kind of wondering, what does this mean for Lamar? What's going on here? There was some of the criticism of the picks, and you're just like, what? There was just a lot of questions. And now looking back, all this time later, almost 2 years later, I think that night and that draft weekend was a turning point in a real positive way for this team because Kyle and Tyler became cornerstone pieces. And then you added other players over the course of that weekend, like an Isaiah Likely, and it just was a massive draft for this team. And Kyle, at the top of it, is a huge reason why.
I thought it was interesting the way that he was talking about the Ravens' defensive mentality and how when they go against these great offenses and great quarterbacks, like there's no batting an eye. In part because of the success that they've had all season, right? It's different from last year when week 2 you come out and the Dolphins hang, what was it? How many points in the fourth quarter?
Too many
points in the fourth quarter, right? It's like, we can't really talk for a while after that, right? This year, the Ravens defense has just continually gotten better. And you get the feeling, or I get the feeling at least, that this defense feels kind of invincible right now.
I would say I agree with that. And I think that success, he made the point that like winning cures a lot of things or winning changes a lot of things, however he phrased it.
Breeds confidence for sure.
It breeds confidence. And when you have gone through the stretch that this defense has, Jacksonville, San Francisco, Miami down the stretch here, and they've played their best in big moments, I think that just adds to that level of confidence. So I think that they and it's this fine line to walk of being like too overly confident and cocky and being like, oh, nothing could stop us. But then also like not allowing that to diminish your work ethic. And I just think that like there's the Ravens in my mind have like threaded that needle perfectly. They have this confidence, but they also aren't allowing that to detract from their focus in any way.
Yeah, I mean, it's got real 2000 Bullies of Baltimore vibes to me.
Yeah.
Watching Roquan, watch Wired if you haven't done so. Go back and watch Wired from the divisional playoff game against the Texans where we had Roquan Smith-Mike.
Yeah.
Major Ray Lewis vibes there. The way that he just is an intimidator of the opponent, and the way that these guys hit, the physicality they play with, the bravado, the confidence that they carry themselves with, the way they want to finish opponents in games and make them tap out late in games. I mean, like Kyle said, if he makes that interception, it's a shutout. Defensively, it's a shutout. I mean, if they go out and put the handcuffs on the Kansas City Chiefs in this game and really hold them down defensively, we're going to be sitting here having the conversation of, is it crazy to compare them to the 2000 defense?
Oh, totally.
Is it crazy?
You're right.
That 2000 defense went out to Oakland and held them to 3 points, I believe it was. The Oakland Raiders, who had one of the best offenses, Rich Gannon, got knocked out. Goose belly flopped on them, knocked them out of the game, and they just totally strapped him up.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a chance of that against the Chiefs. I know that Pat Mahomes is good and Andy Reid and Kelce and all that. I think the Ravens are going to measure up.
Well, I think that early in the game, it's significant. And then 2 points on Roquan and Ray Lewis. Lamar Jackson said this week that Roquan Smith basically brought that Ray Lewis energy back to this team, which was a pretty telling quote and endorsement from Lamar to Roquan. He also, as Roquan was walking off podium and Lamar was walking on podium, or vice versa, Lamar said to Roquan something that Ray Lewis said back in that 2000 season and on that Bullies of Baltimore documentary, but he said, if they don't score, they don't win. And I thought that is... This offense has a ton of confidence in the defense, and that's part of why this whole thing is working together so well right now. The offense feels like, look, if we start, they want to start fast, but if we don't, the defense has our back. The defense feels like, all right, our offense can go up there and score with anybody, and then we can just play our brand of football and try to be physical and win the point of attack. And so I think that all of that, like the blend there is a really, really powerful thing for this team.
And you talk about leadership. Lamar Jackson on the offensive side of the ball, Roquan Smith on the defensive side of the ball. Those are two great leaders.
Yeah.
And then you have guys like Kyle Hamilton, who in his own way is a great leader. You know, he handles it a little bit different than some other guys, but like definitely somebody that people look to and is like, that guy does it the right way.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so many other examples of that. But just I think Roquan really sets the tone on the defensive side and Lamar on the offensive side. And everybody kind of, no matter what side of the ball you play on, look to those guys.
Yeah.
And the Ravens are in really good hands with them. But you go through this entire team and it's just full of good players who are also playing the game the right way and working the right way behind the scenes.
Yeah, totally. So we're going to give you our final preview coming up on a podcast that's going to drop on Saturday morning.
Yep.
So we'll give our full preview and all of our predictions coming up then. Also head over to the Ravens Press Pass podcast feed. A lot of press conferences this week. Mm-hmm. And in locker room this week, I think there were more reporters than players. I mean, it was insane. Well, they were kind of shuffling around.
When the herd came into the locker room, the players were like, whoa, we're coming in there.
It really was like
herd comes in.
And there was probably double the amount of media in there compared to the number of players. And that's what happens when you get to this stage of the game. So there's a lot of press conferences. So check out the Press Pass podcast feed.
Wait.
Oh, we can't forget this.
I almost forgot the dog of the week. Sorry.
Most importantly,
my moo really got me thinking that we needed to do the dog of the week.
All your different animals.
I got all my animal sounds.
Farmhouse.
Here we go. The top dog for a fourth time this year, Lamar Jackson. I mean, come on. How can you not give it to Lamar? He was out there, and in the locker room speech, the halftime speech.
Yeah.
Big Dog was barking. He was barking. And so there you go. Lamar Jackson. You
didn't even say the divisional dog. The divisional dog. I mean, the alliteration.
This thing's falling over. The divisional. Now.
There you go.
Congrats, Lamar.
Thank you for listening. We're going to get to some of your emails tomorrow when we drop the preview podcast. So thank you so much for listening and watching. We'll talk with you again tomorrow.